Welcome. The collective is here for your information, knowledge, and love. What we ask of you is to sit and listen. Listen to the vibration, listen to the frequency. For it is this frequency that you, as a being, aligns to. The words will be processed through your ears, through your thinking, but it is this vibration that carries the information you seek. So allow yourselves to adjust to this frequency now. For this journey that each and every one of you are on, many of you look around, many of you look at your existence, perceive it as something that it should be, as something that it must be, as something that I must do in order to get to a certain point. Something that you have to look back upon, something that you have to fill certain amounts of time with. But you see, it is this existence that you have chosen. It is this existence that you have contracted with. It is this existence that you have incarnated into to enjoy all aspects of this human life. Why is it so important to experience the human life? Simply put, it is the only existence that is in this density, in this form, in this being that you inhabit. For there are many other beings within your universe. They all are on different planes of existence, different realities, different dimensions. But none of them exist as you exist here in this human form. This human form has been created for you purposefully. Each human form that you incarnate into, no matter how many lives that you have incarnated into, it is purposefully designed for you, a vessel to enter into, to incarnate, to bring forth life. You see, when you are in that place of the all, source, the creation space, and you choose the point at which you contract with a human being, the form itself, before incarnation, you look upon this life in wonder. You look upon the life that is before you in wonder, not knowing the outcomes, not knowing what is to take place, because you are excited to be in this human form. You cannot wait to be in this human form. But yet once you enter into the human form and you begin to experience life, there are many that wish to no longer be in the human form because it is too challenging. It is too difficult. But you see, it is those points of difficulty. It is those points of understanding, those points of teaching that you are growing and growing the consciousness of that you incarnate from. So yes, you are growing your consciousness. You are expanding your consciousness through each life that you live, through each experience that you have. But you are also carrying that back to that source, to that creation point. You're creating that space around you when you enter in through transition back to the source point. You're creating that space of consciousness of all that you have experienced through time, not just that lifetime. But how does that benefit you here in this life, during this lifetime? It is to remember, no matter what takes place in this lifetime, no matter the experiences, good or bad, you have purposefully aligned them for you. You've also purposefully aligned those individuals that have been part of your experience. You've aligned every aspect of your existence perfectly. There isn't a mistake. When you draw a contract to be in existence in this human form, there are no mistakes. For everything that you do, from every breath that you take, from every whisper from your lips, from everything you hear, from everything you understand, it is all part of the contract, down to the finest points. But many forget this. But it is to begin to understand. As humanity is consciously growing, as humanity's consciousness is moving towards that point at which it will evolve, it will ascend into the next dimensional plane. It is not to forget all of what you've learned. It is to take that with you. It is to understand the consciousness that you are in, the uplifted consciousness that you exist in. You exist here in a consciousness plane. Whether you understand that consciousness plane or not, you exist within it. That consciousness plane is all human consciousness from the time at which humans came upon this planet. You exist within it. You are here to fortify it. You are here to make it whole. All beings are. To assist in the consciousness of humanity's point on that horizon that is out in front of you. So do not discount this life. Do not discount any life that you experience. But in turn, embrace every life. Embrace every moment, every breath, every bit of existence, no matter what it is, no matter what you eat or do, no matter what you listen to or go to. Who's in front of you, who's behind you, who you make relationships with or not. It is all purposeful because you've created it. That is the point that you have to understand about your existence as a human. Do not gloss over your existence. Look at every fine point of your existence and understand how powerful you are in this existence because of all of the other existences that you have lived. There isn't one that is greater than any other. There isn't any being that is greater than any other. They are all equal in the plane of consciousness. You are playing your role appropriately. Allow yourself to enjoy every moment of it, but do not be hindered by it. If you have questions, please begin.
Thank you so much for your presence this evening. Suzanne B. wonders, who were the light beings dancing in her living room about a week ago, please?
There are a number of beings that were present at that particular point, but it is the understanding of how they've come to be. For there was an energetic shifting that took place, an opening of sorts that you have created before yourself, a portal, if it were, to allow in primarily a Palladian, along with a number of different fairies, sprites, to be present as well, all changing the dynamic of energy within the space. For that is what your, shall it be said, your essence was calling in. You opened this purposely for yourself to understand they are always there before you. But that particular day, you needed to see them as a reminder. they're always present. There's no need to open that portal any longer. It is just to shift the dynamic of energy within the space, and they will be presented before you once again.
Oh, very beautiful. Thank you. So last month, the collective mentioned that Lauren G had a past life on Planet X. Is Planet X also called Nibiru?
That is what many in your scientific and those that have an understanding of your galactic systems would have named it. Yes, that is the assigned name that it has been given.
Okay, so you also mentioned that the beings there that she was a part of, that race, were called Nairobian, but it might have been a mispronunciation or difficult to pronounce. Was it related to Nibiru?
This is correct.
Okay, what were the Anunnaki though also on that planet at some point?
For at a particular point, the Anunnaki were part of its structure, but they have been exiled from that particular structure. And you have to understand it as a structure. You understand your planetary aspects. This is more of a structure. It isn't to say that it has been made by beings, but it has been in place or a placement of energies to bring forth mass. Unlike your planets, those themselves have been created in a different process. This is not a planet that has been created in the same process. So yes, the Anunnaki themselves were the primary constructors of that, but because of their infiltration within the galactic warring factions, they have been exiled from it and are no longer in existence, though there is a vibrational field that still exists, but it does not affect in a negative or nefarious aspect.
Although people still can tune into that energy.
This is correct.
And if I recall correctly, since Planet X is still in our galaxy, you said the Anunnaki are no longer in our galaxy at all.
This is correct. Physically, they are no longer in the galaxy, but their, shall it be said, their imprint, their vibrational imprint still exists.
Right. And so the hybrid beings that you said were on Planet X were Andromedan, Pleiadian, and Venusian combined.
This is correct.
What would they look like?
For if you would understand them before you, they'll take two particular forms. One extremely tall in stature, well beyond your 10-foot measurement mark. The other, a bit different. This is a bit more of a horizontal aspect. It is more of a vibrational field that coalesces the denseness of the planetary structure to bring forth what you would understand as a bit of a mirage that stands before you, but it is a mirage of consciousness. The 10-foot beings themselves, they are going to have a slight opaque appearance to the skin, but yet a slight bluish appearance. They'll be cloaked with a uniform of sorts. It'll be a bit metallic looking, but yet they'll also have well, what you would understand is a cape that wraps around them. Their boots that they wear will come up past the knees, and they will have different ornamental aspects to the uniforms that they are wearing. They will also have a headdress of many different makings.
Sounds very formidable.
It is.
Wow, thank you for all of that. Marianne C. wonders if intercessory prayer is useful or helpful, and if so, what's the best way to practice it, please?
To understand prayer itself, it is to begin to rewrite how you perceive prayer. What is prayer? It is a vibrational channel that you are opening. It is a vibrational channel that you're opening between yourself and another individual, a group of individuals to one individual, a group of individuals to many individuals. It is a channel of energy that you are purposefully opening to send healing, to send comfort, to send unconditional love, care, gratitude. Intercessory prayer is that channel that you open. That's all it is. Yes, you reach up to your creator, to your source, to your God. So you're relying on a relay back down to the individual. But in essence, you are opening a pure channel of information. So it is to understand this process. You can call upon your God, your creator, to provide a prayer, allow it to go through its channels, or envision the individual, the group of individuals, the place, the circumstance, doesn't matter the situation. Intercessory prayer can be utilized for any aspect, but it is understanding how you open that channel. It is to vision in front of you the receiving point. Pick an individual you wish to send a prayer to. Do not look up. That is just the human's conditioning to understand that you're bringing it up to God so that God, the creator, then can bring it back down. You are just as powerful to open that channel directly. Envision that person, that individual in front of you, standing there, holding their hands out, open. Now you open your hands, allowing the energy that you have beginning to well up in you through the words that you are about to speak, to open that pathway. Speak those words across that pathway as if you are providing a gift to another individual. They then receive that gift. That is the open channel. The pathway has been opened, the energy is now flowing. Hold that as long as possible. That is the power of your channeled prayer. Source is continually holding that open, whether you direct it through source or not. You are just as powerful to open that and hold that, but it is being sustained by the source. Understand the mechanisms, understand what it is to have prayer, intercessory prayer, and all aspects of channeling that power through you to any individual, any groups of individuals, any situation that stands before you.
Lovely, thank you for that. Kathy L. wonders about a painting that she's receiving from a spiritual teacher. She wonders what the significance is to her or her assignment. And in the painting, there are multiple similar statues of Sekhmet that are depicted, and she's curious if those represent transportation or a charging pod or something else.
First, understand the the alignment that you have with that teacher that you have. For this is not the first lifetime that you have interacted together. You both have been teacher, student, and the roles have taken turns throughout many lifetimes. For this lifetime, you are the student. This that is provided to you has been, you understand already, this is a channeled expression of your existence beyond your human existence here. This is a channeled understanding of a perspective of you during that lifetime. The pillars that stand behind you with the Sekhmet above, each one representing an aspect of self, but not in the way that you would expect. Each one of the pillars is representing the power centers. The power centers that can be energized at any particular point for, whether it is if you wish to journey back, journey forward, journey within the same dimensional plane. It is to understand they are portals in a way, but they are do not look upon them as transportation devices. They are energetic pillars to step into, to explore. Once you step into it, it'll be as if a hallway opens before you, and one will take you into the future, one will take you into the past, and one will envelop you in the current time to see all of it as it stands. So through your meditations, through your journeying points, allow yourself to be expressed within these pillars.
Awesome, thank you for that. Many of us are finding that we're having dreams recently with people that we know, even random people, when we have never had that before. Why are we all of a sudden dreaming of people and random people?
For what has already been brought forward in the opening information. This layer of consciousness is descending. It is getting closer and closer to the human realm. These are all of the preparatory stages to prepare humanity for ascension. So once you and your vibration reaches out to that consciousness layer, it is as if you are immersed into the everything. And those that are within your human construct of thinking, those thought patterns, they might be just a glimpse. They are then expanded once you touch the consciousness layer and you are immediately connected to that individual. Now through the dream state, it is involved into a recognition point. It is brought into your awareness because that particular individual needed your connection. That particular individual needed that amplification. That particular individual did receive an aspect of the same similar dream, though they may not recognize you in the dream, but they received the information that was needed. So it is the consciousness layer is descending slowly, slowly, so that it merges with all humanity. You and your vibration reach up and touch it during your sleep periods, entering into that consciousness stream.
Interesting, thank you for that. Jacqueline is having some difficulty receiving and interpreting messages directly from her higher self. Why is that? Can you help her?
For when the communication between the physical and the higher self is required, there are many factors that can, as you say, inhibit. It is to understand the human itself is not designed to have direct communication at any moment during the day. Direct communication with the higher self is something that is, shall it be said, it needs a bit of training. But for those that can touch into that experience, they have already opened that channel for themselves, but at a much younger age. They've come into it right from the point of incarnation. For those that have difficulty, begin an exercise. One, it is to visualize yourself split in half. One half of you is your humanness that does your human activities, is involved, wrapped up into all of the human activities, all of the things necessary to sustain the human, the employment, the relationships, all the things that are necessary for the human life. The other half is that connects to all things within the energetic space. It isn't to allow them to blend for that moment. It is to see them separate. And it is then to begin to see where the humanness, that section of the human, that half of the human, infiltrates that energetic side. Little threads that cross over, drawing it closer and bringing it in. This is what impedes many of the connection points. This isn't anything wrong. This is a normal process. It isn't to sever all of those connections, but it is to be aware of the connections that are made, those little threads that continually pull the energetic self back into the human framework, into the density, the thoughts that might go awry. It is to understand those threads are purposeful because it is to strengthen, it is to be witness to how to strengthen one's energetic self so that it cannot break free, but it can have the freedom to reach even higher and stronger. By understanding how many points of connectedness there are, you can address them individually. They're not tied to any particular past life. They're not tied to any particular aspect of life. They are just the threads that hold the two together. There might be 2, there might be 100, but it is to understand those threads that hold the two halves together, is to address them as a whole and begin to detune them. Let them vibrate at a little bit of a lower frequency, loosening the grip just enough so that your energetic aspect can channel upward into that aspect of the higher self, even to the oversoul, all the way to source, into the quantum field, much easier. You can do this through meditation. You can do this while just mindfully standing there, looking out the window at apparently nothing in front of you, but yet you envision yourself splitting in two and you see the threads and you begin to speak to the threads. I thank you. I thank you for holding all of this together. I appreciate that, but please, let's detune. Let's turn down the vibration that holds the two halves together just enough so that I can break free and begin to communicate with my higher self. And at that point, allow yourself just to ask a particular question of the higher self that you wish to receive an answer. You might not receive the clearest of answer at first because you are still adjusting the radio station. But in time, as you understand how to detune this, you begin to receive the messages much clearer. It will take some time, but this is a practice that is appropriate.
Very helpful. Thank you for that. So we understand that humans can have a walk-in. Can animals also be walk-ins?
Yes, you do understand the mechanism of the human walk-in process. For the animal realm, the animal process, it is not entirely the same. Can there be a similar action? Yes, but the outcomes are different. For you understand that within the human, when a walk-in takes place, there's a greater mission that has to play out. There is an outcome that is necessary, that the previous energy could not ascertain. A new energy must come in so that it can fulfill the rest of the contract, rest of the obligations. Within an animal, there are no set obligations. There are no set agendas. There are no set outcomes. But if it is an aspect that an animal, no matter the animal, the essence of that animal, that energy of the animal is requested somewhere else, instead of leaving the body and allowing the body to transition, because there is much more for that body to do because of its owners, because of its humans, because of the tribe, because of the community that it is in, there will be another placement of energy to take its place, and it will be seamless to the point at which you wouldn't even understand that there was this transition point, that there was this changeover point. This happens frequently, but not as frequently as you would believe. There are times that many energies for many animals are needed somewhere else, not on planet. Those energies are taken off planet for other locations. They are then utilized temporarily while a new energy is in place for a short amount of time. Could be a week, could be a month, could be several years. But at a particular point, the original energy is put back in place. There's another switchover. So it is not quite the same. The process looks similar, but it's not the same outcome.
Wow. So if they switch, they always switch back.
Yes.
And can you give us an example of a mission that an animal's soul would need to go do in the middle of a lifetime?
For if there is another, shall it be said, another planet, if it were, that is needing a new life form. It needs the energy of animals that have already experienced many lifetimes upon the human planet, all different aspects. Those animals that have lived multiple different lives throughout one lifetime or one cycle of lifetime upon this planet. They have an understanding of how then to be in place within a new life form that hasn't existed on a new planet to give it balance, to give it existence. So it is then part of the agreement process is to come out of the body, go into that place for the point of time at which it is then energized, brought into existence, and then a energy is then placed into it. That energy is then brought back into the original animal.
Fascinating. So Wendy B is curious if any of her animals have been walk-ins.
There have been several that you have interacted with throughout the process of the care of many of the animals that you have under your charge that have had that process take place. And each time it was within a 30-day cycle that this evolution took place.
Where they were out and back again?
This is correct.
Wow. So when we do animal channelings and we talk to them, would they be able to tell us of those expeditions that they've been on?
Many times not, because it is a point that is then, think of it this way, the experience of that particular animal at that particular point is paused. At that point, the energy is then taken, and then at the point it is put back in, it is played once again. So there is no lapse in time, so it'd be very difficult. They may have a moment that they do not quite remember, but it is not fully of an understanding that they have been out of body.
Wow, thank you for that. Samantha K has had a couple of dreams about lightning. The first one took place near a barn with horses, and it struck a pole, and they had to dive for cover, and the air condensed. The second one, however, happened out on the water at dusk, where they came across an orca on his side. His head was up out of the water, and it had electrical lightning-like pulses surging through its head, and there were several other orcas like that. Are these two dreams related? Is there some significance to this lightning and electrical activity?
For they are not aligned with one another. They are two, in the dream state, two separate dreams themselves. It is to understand the significance of the lightning itself first. It is this aspect of lightning. It is this aspect of one's presence around lightning. For you've had many experiences with lightning in your physicality. But it is understanding the, shall it be said, the discharge of the plasmic energy that is then given off. Whether you are a distance from it or very close, your energy field itself is requiring a bit of this plasmic energy. So your energy field is being amplified by it. It is being recharged by it. Not all humans have the same experience, but your energy field itself is requiring this. So through your dream state, it is also utilizing some of that plasmic energy through the dream state to recharge your energetic system, because it has been some time for the physical lightning to take place around you. It is to understand this process. The plasmic energy that you absorb is one that is amplifying your full energetic field. It is preparing it for a shift over point. The shift over point is one that is going to be, yes, a bit disruptive in your, shall it be said, your everyday activity, but it'll be short-lived. It'll be one that will be, one day will be a bit chaotic. The next, there'll be a point at which everything in front of you is quite clear. The thoughts will be much more clear. The decision points will be much more clear. The understandings of all things that you have been experienced to will be much more clear. There won't be the fogginess, the haziness in many aspects. This changeover point is coming, but it is preparing your system for it through the dream state. Now, the aspect of the first dream in relevance to the second dream, there is no direct connection, but it is to understand in the first dream, it is your fear state that warns you of the lightning and the fearful aspect of lightning. But it is to understand there's nothing to be fearful of during your dream state. During your physical state, take as much heedance to it as you need to. But in your dream state, allow yourself to be recharged by this plasmic experience. Within this mammal that has the lightning aspect, this you can be representing it as the greater whole of the consciousness that you are connected to. You have to understand, many individuals are going to be experiencing a greater depth of consciousness in the coming months. These are all preparatory stages. You see the orca in front of you, a mammal that is much bigger than you, but yet is equal to you, but yet has a consciousness that is much greater than you. You see it in it, you feel it in it, you sense it in it, but yet you stand and look in awe. But in reality, it is to understand you are one with it, it is one with you, it is a greater point of consciousness that you are experiencing. The lightning is representing that aspect of you that is being recharged by it, by the consciousness that is present before you.
Wow, fascinating. Thank you for that. Michaela Kay over Christmas felt some energy at her mother's house, and she also heard footsteps. On one occasion, the energy woke everybody up in the house, and the very next day, the Christmas lights came on by themselves while everyone had been asleep. Who or what was that energy? Is there anything she needs to be aware of?
To understand the presence of the energy that is in place or was in place during that particular period is to understand those that have transitioned before you. That particular period, the combined alignments of energies, whether many understand them or not, you allowed spirit to enter in. In particular, there was a great grandmother, and then brother energy as well. The footsteps, as you heard, were the footsteps of the grandmother walking throughout the house. The grandmother was there present just to observe what was already in place, the energy that you have created, the space that you've created, the combined energies to open the pathway to the spirit realm, to allow her to come in. She's been attempting to do this for some time, but everyone's energy coalesced that evening to allow her to enter in, to feel welcome. She stayed a bit. Now the brother energy, this is a distant, connected back some time, a bit more playful. That one remained to the morning, sitting quietly, observing, present with all those that were around, and yes, began to manipulate a few things, not only the tree, but there were many other things that seemed to be just out of place from where they were once left. This was his energy. This is the potential that all have. It is to understand, and this is for all to understand. When you bring family together, no matter the time, you don't have to think about anything. But if you have all of them in your heart, if you just even understand who your grandfather was, your grandmother, lost loved ones, just in that moment, if you have all the family together, you open that pathway much easier, and they will come forward. They will be present with you. They may not all express themselves. They may sit quietly in a corner, but that is the stirring energy that woke everyone up. It was the presence that you all brought forward.
Lovely, thank you for that. Maria F. was in an emotional release group for about 3 months, and she didn't feel that she got much out of that. Was there a particular reason she needed to participate in that group?
For it is the container that you build. You understand the process yourself. You understand that process of release. You've done it many times. But it is the container, even though you are a participant, it is the container that you hold, the energy, the support. It is to understand, and this is, though you did not have an experience, you released many things within your energetic field. You did not physically release them through emotion, through consciousness, all of that, but you did release it from an energetic field standpoint. And because you already know this process within self, it feels as if it is just as easy as breathing. So this is why it is felt as if nothing took place, but yet is the container you built to hold others around, to support them, so that they can have the release that is needed in this process.
Thank you for that. Alex D. says that 2024 is the year of the dragon, according to the Chinese New Year. And he wonders if he has a dragon guide. And if so, does that dragon guide have a message for him or a name? And what kind of dragon is it?
For off to the left of your crown, there is a golden and black female dragon. Think of it as a teenage aspect. If you wish to call upon her, use the term Roxy, for this is one that will provide you an aspect of self that has been hidden away, this playful aspect, this teenager aspect, the teenager that never was, the one that needs to express itself in much joyous form. For Roxy will be the one to guide you through this process. Settling in there just on the left of your crown, wrapping her tail just around your forehead, guiding you into experiences of this teenage experience, these joyful moments that are needed, this uplifting experience that is purposeful for the human experience. So it is once again to find that laughter, find that joyous aspect that has been hidden away for some time, releasing into this energy. Allow her to mature along with you in this process.
Wonderful. And what dimension does Roxy exist in?
The 8th dimensional plane.
Awesome. Thank you. Judy B wonders who is flickering the lights at her house, and is there a message?
For it is not a who, but it is to be reflective upon one's own energy source. It is to understand the power that is beginning to pulsate through your physicality. There has been much work that has been done to amplify, but much of that amplification has been held within. Now it is beginning to explode out. Allowing this energy to pulsate out is affecting many of the electric aspects of your physical realm. So it is this that is also changing the dynamic within those that are around you. It is these pulsations of energy. This is going to slow itself. This is going to come under control, but for now it is a tempering aspect. This is the next aspect of self. You have been questioning yourself, what is next? What is to come? Where am I to go? This is the next aspect. It is these pulsations of energies that have been contained within. Now they are beginning to express themselves outward. So it isn't who, but it is to look inward to understand that it is self. There is no message other than to understand this is the power that you've been holding away from others. This is the power that you hold and have held to yourself for far too long. Now it is time to allow it to be present around you.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Eduardo S. is curious why he feels like he's been under surveillance for the last 3 to 4 months, please.
This perception, this is the alignment to your, shall it be said, your crystalline frequency set. This crystalline structure that you exist within, this crystalline aspect of self is tuned appropriately, but that tuning is receiving many reception points from many different galactic spaces, quantum field spaces, consciousness points. So it becomes a bit crowded, a bit clustered. It becomes a bit noisy. So from a human consciousness standpoint, it feels as if there are things, there are individuals, there are something that is observing, something that is tapping into my thought stream, something that is aligning to me that I wish not to connect to. This is just because your frequency set, your crystalline frequency set, is refining its alignment, refining its tuning to understand that this channel of information that it is open above you needs to be focused, needs to be aligned to one particular channel or the other, so that you can receive a clear input for your own understanding. That is all it is. Many of those that receive information, many of those that receive downloads, they do not quite understand where the download is coming from, but they understand it is a download until a later point at which the download is decrypted. For you, it is a physical channel of information that is trying to input, but too many of them at once, so it becomes clustered.
Wow, thank you for that. Willow is curious if there is a message to her from the Horse Consciousness Collective, please.
For all work that has been accomplished thus far, this is the physical work that has been accomplished. It is now to understand what has led you to this point, what has brought you to this space, what has aligned you energetically in this space of being present not only with self, but being present with this of many of the horses that stand before you. For your consciousness is already aligned to them. Your physicality is aligned to them. Your energy, your physical energy is aligned to them. But it is understanding everything that your physicality has incurred, learned, deciphered up to this point, now can lend itself to all of the energetic aspects to have a greater point of alignment, to have communication. See, it is the alignments of energetic processes that stand alone at this point. There are the human teachings that have been brought forward to allow the human to do its thing. Now, you have already been communicating, but at a very fine line. It is opening and expanding that line of communication. Yes, verbally, but in that verbal communication, there's going to be an energetic shift in the telepathic aspect, allowing all of the animals that are around, not just the horses, to begin to communicate with you in a much more clear, precise way, because it is all combining all of what you've known physically and energetically now into one very comfortable alignment for yourself. A gift, if it were, a gift of pure communication.
Wonderful, thank you. And lastly, we have 3 people who would like to know their source cluster and their primary alignments. May we ask?
You may.
Sophie would like to know her source cluster and her primary galactic alignment, please.
The source, Palladium. Primary Palladium source, Lyran.
And Eduardo?
Primary Orion. Source, Lyran.
And lastly, Zachary Johnson, please.
Primary Arcturian. Source, Orion.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there any closing messages for the group, please?
As you move forward in the days and weeks to come, begin to understand this layer of consciousness. Begin to understand your own consciousness. Begin to understand your experience here as a human. For it is all combined as one. For it is all united as one. But it is beginning to understand your presence within it. And when you begin to understand this alignment, this presence within this consciousness field that is there with you, the experiences that you will begin to have, the understanding, the blessings will begin to grow, will begin to expand. It will begin to fill you physically with an understanding that all is just as it should be. For each life is not a mistake. For each existence is not a mistake. Do not look upon it that way. Understand that each life you have gifted to yourself. You have blessed this experience to yourself. And when you can peer into that layer of consciousness, you begin to see it in an entirety. All of it. All of what you've already experienced. All of what you may experience. For it exists there above you, just within reach. It is going to get closer and closer in time. So allow yourself to enjoy this human experience just as it needs to be. That is why you've chosen it. That is why you are here.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your presence this evening.
Thank you. As always, the collective is here for your information, knowledge, and love.